When it comes down to things, Genshin did do their 4.0 live stream, and to be perfectly honest, I was excited as hell. Not gonna necessarily lie. I was really excited, honestly. And when it comes down to things, I am just super hyped to get my ass to Water Country. I'm super hyped to go ahead and get to Glocktain, right? I'm ready to see what kind of guns they Chlorindine has, or Chlorine, or however the hell you say her name, honestly. Which, honestly, did they pick that name because of like the shit that you put in your pool, like the chlorine and shit like that? Which, if that is the case, that's absolutely hilarious and makes me sad. But when it comes down to things, I just want to basically talk about a few things of it, you know, and kind of just give my whole, I guess, opinion of what I guess what to look forward to, or what I thought was interesting what they said. Now, when it comes down to things, the one big thing that kind of stands out from the whole live stream to me was the fact that the whole underwater section is basically just you swimming around, kind of doing some things underwater, but it's about evenly as much land in Fontaine as it is underwater. And that's really surprising to me, which I wasn't necessarily thinking they were going to have that much, you know, I guess stuff that you could do on both sides, but it seemed like that you will, honestly. I can tell you that's going to get annoying at some point in time, but it is what it is at the same time. But anyway, one of the biggest things that they had talked about was the combat in underwater. Now, if you paid attention to any video game that tries to do fighting underwater combat, you would know that majority of the time, if not every single time, it's ass. And I ain't talking about like no side-scroller Sonic game, or like no other type of game like where it's shooting involved. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about where you have a character physically trying to fight shit in the water. There has been games that has tried to do it and do it well, and then there's other games that just ignore the physics of shit, and then there's other games that just don't necessarily do it well at all. The only game I could think of that does it kinda well, but it basically ignores the physics of water, which was the old, back on the PS2, Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi series, where you can fight underwater and shit. But that is really a big ass stretch, because it's just like, bro, they're just ignoring water. The only thing that's different from you in the water and out of the water, it's just that your key charges slowly in the water than it does out of it. That's the only thing. And when it comes down to things, the only other thing I can say when it comes to fighting underwater in a game that actually matters with it is Kingdom Hearts. The problem with Kingdom Hearts is they don't know how to do fighting underwater either. So like in Kingdom Hearts 1, when you go to Atlantica, you actually can fight on water. Unfortunately, it does not play that well, and it's very annoying sometimes. Then you have Kingdom Hearts 3 that decided to do it again, which is better, but still is very annoying at times when it comes down to things. And it's only so many limited things that you can do. And that's why they were saying that, you know, when they tried to implement that into the actual game of Genshin, they struggled with that, and it was a bit annoying, and so they didn't necessarily mess with it anymore. They had 2 years, and keep in mind too, that says a lot if they can't necessarily do it and implement it in a big way, because Genshin has the budget, they have money, they have, you know, 2 years to try to get Fontaine to work well with the whole underwater thing. And the fact that they can't do it kind of tells you how hard, you know, implementing an underwater section of a game where, you know, fighting is involved, physical fighting is definitely involved. It's harder than a lot of people possibly think. I was excited to kind of wonder what it could be like, because I was thinking how would it be working, but since we can't necessarily do that, we won't necessarily get that, which I'm not necessarily even mad at the devs, honestly. Again, making underwater combat fluid and working well and flows well, it's not easy to do, and I'm not necessarily even mad at them for, you know, giving up on the idea and trying to do something else when it comes down to things, right? So I'm not necessarily too mad, but I was like, damn, I would love to have seen what they could have come up with if they had an idea how to make it work underwater. Because obviously, if you're playing like any type of, you know, game that has an adventure with it, you would like to think you can do stuff underwater, but again, it's very hard to do that shit. And to be perfectly honest, I get where they're coming from with a realistic part of it, because they want to see how they can actually make the characters flow well underwater and how that stuff can honestly go. And it's absolutely like, I don't even be mad at them. I can't be mad at them because, you know, it makes a lot of sense. Again, fighting underwater and trying to make that jump work is a challenge. And again, with the budget and money that they have, surprisingly, they still can't necessarily figure it out or make it work in a way. So that just kind of tells you how hard it is to make underwater combat even good. Because I was even kind of thinking, oh, how's that gonna go? Is it gonna be like Kingdom Hearts combat? Because that's kind of like, I'll be dreading it, honestly, if that's the case. But we ain't gonna get it in at all, so that's like a thing, right? The second thing is more about the gameplay. Well, actually not the gameplay, but the story itself, and less about the gameplay. And really, it's Child, honestly. Now, I'll state this straight up. I do not care too much for Child out of canon. I'll say that much. I kind of care for Child because he's kind of okay in canon, right? He's kind of decent. He actually can put up a fight. He's kind of fun. I do like his boss fight still. This opportunity is quite hard to come by. Now then, amuse me. Surrender is a valid option. I promise I'll be gentle. Boy, shut your ass up. Ain't nobody trying to hear that. Come catch this fade, honestly. But when it comes to, you know, in canon, he's fun. Honestly, I like him. Out of canon, if I see one damn ship with Lamine and Child, honestly, one more damn time, I'm about to go ahead and whoop somebody's ass. I'm just gonna be honest with you. But when it comes down to things, the fact that he's gonna be a part of the story, especially in the beginning part of it, makes me wonder, is he gonna help kill Archon, right? But that's like a thing that would be kind of bad, right? If that ends up happening, considering the fact that it's not too surprising to see two Fatui members in the same damn place, because we've seen in Inazuma with La Senora and Scaramouche at the time, where they were there technically, but we never saw them interact with each other. They were there, but they never interacted with each other. So, you know, is this the case with, you know, Archon and, you know, Child? But the only thing about that junk is, though, Archon and Child do not like each other. If you remember in their voice lines, what Child has, saying that he doesn't necessarily like her and how crazy that Archon is, honestly. So that might be something there that might make him want to betray the Fatui, honestly, just by wiping her ass out, essentially, or being helping hands when it comes down to things. And maybe he'd be like, well, you know, she died, but I'm not gonna necessarily say anything about it. I'll say I tried my best to stop the traveler or something like that, and then maybe, oh well, she died, that's kind of what it is, right? Because if I remember correctly, I think they said somewhere Archon actually runs like an orphanage, which I wouldn't be surprised that she abuses the hell out of kids and, you know, do some other vile shit to them. And that's kind of the situation of why you have like Lenny and Lynette and, you know, other boy I can't necessarily remember the name of right now. But when it comes down to things, I wouldn't be surprised if they're not actually even family either. Like, they're probably just a ragtag of a bunch of kids that probably tried to escape her wrath and essentially got out. But, or maybe just working under her, but they don't want to, essentially. I can see any of those things kind of happening. But when it comes down to things, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if Child decides to be like, you know what, let me pull an Axel to Vexen and just murder the shit out of Archon. I don't necessarily know how he's gonna do that, because I think Child is in the back of the rankings of Fatui. So I don't necessarily know how it's gonna go for him. But still, I would like to very much see it, right? I would very much like to see it. Or who knows, maybe he might not necessarily worry about her too much, considering the fact that he seems to be wanting to fight against the judicial system of Fontaine. So, you know, he's just like, oh, you got your orders, I got mine. Bring on your ops, I'll beat their ass. And that's essentially what Child is trying to do here. So again, who knows? Who honestly really knows what's going on here, to be perfectly honest. So we'll have to see how things kind of go in the story. But as far as that goes, though, like, outside of everything else, I'm pretty excited, though. Like, no joke, this might be my favorite country that we're going to, outside of Inazuma, right? I was very hyped to see Inazuma for a long time. The moment I heard it was going to be like Japan, you know? And it succeeded in certain areas. There's certain areas of Inazuma I just do not care for. But I'm hoping that Fontaine will give me the fix that I need, because I don't think I've ever really been more hyped for a country than Fontaine, honestly. Sumeru was okay, but I didn't necessarily care too much for it. There's certain moments of it that was fine, right? The Archon quest was pretty okay, but I don't think that's like the pinnacle of Archon Quest. I don't think that's the peak of Archon Quest, honestly. I feel like they could do something else that would be more appealing. And the fact that we're going to a more, I would say, more first world-ish type of country in the world, honestly, where technology is there and everybody's more well-dressed. Well, not, I won't say well-dressed, but like more up-to-date in standards and stuff like that when it comes to dress wear and more modernized and stuff like that. I do want to see what kind of nonsense we're going to deal with, though, because it seems like we're going to get hit with some modern day nonsense. I'm just going to be honest from what I can tell, right? And it's also kind of fun to kind of see how this place will be, because majority of the world is very much still in the past. Like, people are still using bow and arrows and shit, people are still using swords, and, you know, really not necessarily like super update to where we are in our real life timeline. But Fontaine is probably about the closest, if not the Sumeria is about one of the two about the closest, but I think Fontaine's more closer than Sumeria is. And when it comes down to things, I'm just kind of wondering what the hell is actually going on, I would say, honestly. They said some of some energy source that it was having that Fontaine is running on, and I'm thinking, oh lord, is the energy source bad or something? Let me guess, it's gonna be like the Mako in Final Fantasy 7 or something like that. We gotta destroy all that so we can get the world back to be in a better place or something, you know? I wouldn't be surprised if that is the situation that goes on, but again, we'll have to see, you know? So that said, I think that's practically everything that I really wanted to bring up, essentially. The only thing I guess I can say for side stuff is that I hope we get like another crossover collaboration, honestly. And because I'm not gonna lie, who is sick of Aloy being the only damn crossover character? Like, can't we have someone from Honkai come through? Even in Star Rail or Third Impact, like, we would send characters over there. How come we can't get no characters over here? Or better yet, go find a character that's, you know, within the realms of, you know, other games and stuff like that, that would fit perfectly into Genshin. And before anybody say something, no, I don't think Sora should actually be in that world. And even if they had the chance to bring him over, I still don't think that would work, considering the fact that Sora would honestly be way more better than the protagonist that we have, and way more stronger. And that's just something that I feel like will break the entirety of Genshin, story-wise. So I don't necessarily think that will work. Also, Sora has been into dreams, and he to be like, oh, dreams ain't, you know, not necessarily meant to be followed like that. And I don't necessarily agree with that shit. But still, with that quest, Sora breaks the rules. So I highly doubt Sora would actually fit in that world, or would make any logical sense of being there. Plus, the Keyblade will probably just reveal a lot of information where, you know, things are kept hidden and stuff like that. And the Keyblade would just see through all that bullshit, to be honest. So Sora wouldn't fit. I would say more so Joker from Persona 5, mainly because this is Fontaine. It's literally like the opera place and all the modern day like thievery and all that stuff. Why not have literally a phantom thief come through the Fontaine, who looks the part, by the way, and just do their thing, honestly? This is the perfect time to bring Joker in. I can already kind of see what abilities he can do, right? Maybe he can do like have like a longer sword or something, and do like a slash a few times, but then shoot at the end with his gun. Then maybe have like his elemental skills to be Aha, or if you're at lower health, it goes to, you know, the stronger version. Then his ultimate would just be an all-out attack, except without the super duper cinematic dramatic stuff on it, and it, you know, could just be a little bit faster than, you know, what it actually is in the actual game. And I could totally see him coming through. And if not Joker, then maybe somebody from Final Fantasy, maybe Tidus, because Blitzball and water, and maybe Cloud or Clive Rossfield if you want to, right? I could see any of those characters. I just want another character to come into Genshin, honestly, that isn't from the world of Genshin, because I am so sick and I'm so tired of not seeing anything when it comes to crossover characters, because it's super annoying. You have the money, you have the budget, just chuck a crossover character in that we care about, and we'll be good. That's all I really want. But anyway, that's essentially all I have for this one, so hopefully you did enjoy. If you did, be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification on your way out. Also follow me on the socials, and if you like to donate to the channel, Patreon is available as well. And until then, it's your boy Jay, signing off. Have a say.